Hey, Lance. It's me, Sparkle because in this video, I am finally doing the video of how my character, Karma, has met his main 4 dragons. What were they? It was a Kagoon King, Avagon, and a, hybrid between those two, and a domestic black dragon with that was a hybrid between the third one. So yeah, the first two though are just extra dragons I added in there because they were drawings I wanted to do, and I had permission to put them into a YouTube video. So I decided to have those 2 dragons somehow be in the story, so I decided to have them in the first 2. The dragons are from I'll drop kick you and Joker Joe 65 on Discord. Their characters were really good. One was just a headshot and he didn't give it a name, and Joker Joe's one was actually a superhero. It was character known as Flicker. So yeah, turned out pretty well, to be honest. Now let's roll intro and get into this video. Let's go. Like and subscribe if you enjoy this video. Okay, I'm going to tell you all the story of how I met my 4 main dragons and 2 dragons that I personally discovered. And these dragons later on became really well known because they're actually quite common, but they're just very sneaky. That's the first 2. The first one of the 2, for the record, I was investigating a weird coin point. It was a point in between 3 dragon layers, 3 of the most powerful dragons I've ever seen. A domestic black dragon, and a Avagon, and a Kagoon King. But they were all in like 3 different directions, but they're on a mountain range that went at one central point. So I was there investigating that mainly. But on the way there, I discovered 2 new breeds of dragon. The first one, I later named the Flodorian Flicker Dragon. What was it? I'm trying to remember. It's been a while since I had to actually name the dragon. Oh yeah, that was the second one. The first one I saw was the Black-Scaled Common Asian Hydra, or Black-Scaled Asian Hydra. These dragons are relatively common in Asia, but somehow this one ended up here. Let's just say, the thing has a breath attack that's mainly just very, very hot breath. And that really burned me up, because I was a few hundred years old by then, but didn't have a super good heat resistance. My magic was still pretty powerful, but not as powerful as I am right now. Like, I can make Super Saiyan 2 seem like a half power for Goku. Yeah, I'm kind of broken. This dragon has 4 heads at most, but those are very pale, and each head has a different colored eye. One is a light orange, another one is a darkish yellow. The head in between those is a orangey red, and the head above them all, which is also one of the smaller heads, is actually a pink-eyed one. I was able to evade most of his attacks, but it got me a few scarrings, which I have now. One on my shoulder, which is covered up by a piece of armor, and one actually going down my arm. It looked like something scratched me, but in reality, it was actually a splash mark, a burn mark from a dragon. I eventually managed to evade all of its attacks, leap up and chop off one of its heads. But since this is an Asian Hydra, they can't actually regrow their heads. Asian Hydras are mixed between an Asian dragon and Hydra, but they don't have the ability to regenerate their heads like most Hydras do. So, yeah, and also not to mention, I didn't know that at the time, so I pulled a Hercules out of the textbooks. What I did was I engulfed my blade in fire magic, cut off its head. It was so hot that it immediately cauterized the wound. So then I proceeded to cut off every other head. And the scales of these dragons are pretty tough, so I kind of kept one as a trophy. But that's now actually a battle axe I use. I had it reshaped into a battle axe. So, there's that. Let's go to the next one I had to fight. The next one I had to fight was a dragon I was just about to talk about, but this dragon is known simply as the Fledorian Flacker Wyvern, or the Fledorian Flacker. These wyverns are notorious for being a huge pain in the butt to deal with, because around this time no one heard of them, because these dragons are actually how do you say, have the ability to teleport, but not to mention they're also blind. So y'all might be thinking, oh, this one was actually relatively simple to defeat. When in reality, it was quite a pain because of its teleporting ability. It still had the ability to sense where I am. It also has the abilities of using martial arts. It actually has a clubbed tail which spikes on it. But also, it has hands, well, claws, that look like hands on each wing. It can use those to use actual martial arts. And telepathy. It can communicate with members within a 1 mile area of its family. I'm lucky, it was pretty far away. I didn't kill this one, I more or less just majorly incapacitated it. But I managed to read its mind and figure out where it lived. The way I defeated it was actually very similar. I saw that this dragon was mostly just trying to figure out a way home and was being aggressive because it didn't really know where it was or how it even got there. So I managed to knock it out, and I have the ability to read minds by touching someone. I don't go insane because I mostly just have the ability to segment through thoughts, and I only go through your actual head and not your subconscious, which, trust me, it'll make you go insane. I've seen someone with that ability. They're now locked up in a mental asylum. And these dragons were actually found in, well, Florida of all places. Makes sense. They are pretty aggressive in Florida because, you know, they got alligators and anacondas there. Well, some type of constrictor snake there that are very dangerous. But these dragons are able to teleport out of there. They're blind, but they also can use their telepathy to actually look around and feel their environment. I don't really know how that works, but it just does, and trust me, it's a major impressive ability. But after I defeated it, which was a simple teleporting up and bringing down a hammer to its head, but it was high enough where it had a crack in its skull, but not high up enough to actually turn its brains into splattered all over the ground. So, yeah, it was a very simple to take out dragon. I learned all of its abilities by reading its mind, and I seen them in battle. I then teleported it to where it belonged, and for the record, this took in a mountain range in another country. Like, I believe, actually not really another country, actually it was closer to another state. If I remember correctly, somewhere around, Texas or so. So, yeah, pretty far away. And Earth had gone so many changes. There's now mountains pretty good, like surrounding the upper part of Texas on the eastern part. So, yeah, it's quite interesting how that happened. Very correctly, it was our overseer caused that by accident. But hey, these dragons were relatively powerful. The next few are actually really, make these seem like babies in comparison power-wise. Now, one of my next dragons I met was actually the first dragon I tamed. It was the Cocoon King dragon, or Cocoon King. These dragons are super rare. These dragons, like I stated, are super rare because their Cocoon is actually every single type. They're what you would call a combo chimera, but they are able to control even those. Some of those dragons are actually more powerful than themselves. But since they are actually able to actually somehow manipulate others' cocoons to make them submit, they are a very dangerous type. So, yeah, be careful around these dragons. They have four main primary cocoons: the Kokaku, the Ukaku, which are actually the wings. The Kokaku is the armor that makes up the Renaku, which are tendrils, and its tail, the Bikaku. Without it, it's just a flightless, non-armored, tailless, giant lizard. But that thing's roar is still pretty deafening. The one I met was, for the record, my lifespan is I'm pretty much immortal, okay? Because of the spell I learned at a very young age, which it showed how powerful I could be. But since I was so powerful, people kind of locked away my abilities, so I can't really use my full abilities quite yet, because it said at your full ability you could take on the overseer of this world. Yeah, and a lot of people know the overseer, but hey, I really didn't know a whole lot about the guy, to be honest. But now I see him as an okay guy, kind of a friend, but I prefer not to have a lot of friends because, like I already stated, my powers are so potent I can make people go insane, which I haven't really stated, but I can do. A few people can actually withstand that, including my brother and a few other people. And that one person I'm going to go over that I met during a giant battle between Satan Claws and the Demon Lost. Well, anyways, this dragon I defeated by simply dodging all of its attacks, but also having a helmet with noise canceling magic. I wore that, and I charged right into battle because I already knew about the devastating roar of these dragons. From one of the first dragons I went over, the Avatar Cocoon Dragon, which is actually a tad bit weaker than these dragons, but not by a whole lot. There's a other dragon known as the Omega version, which is a whole lot more powerful. But this dragon, back to the fight of this one. It raised its claw, which has one of its claws that had the Kokaku wrapped around it. It slammed down, but I was able to actually somehow stop it with my bare hands and lift up the little paw, pretty much throw it out of the way, causing the dragon to stumble out of the way. From the wingspan of these dragons is around 100 feet, and their body length is around, I want to say, 70 feet long. So I was dealing with a really big dragon, and it decided to shoot some Mukaku spears at me. I dodged, I leapt out of the way, using my blade. I sliced one out of the air, grabbed it, and threw it back at him. So I was able to then lift it up. Actually, for the record, that spear hit him directly in the face, so I blinded one eye temporarily. But in that time, I managed to leap up, wrap it around the neck, and pretty much strangle it until it was unconscious. I was able to do that using some rope I had on me. I then, before it knocked out, it hit me off the back of its head with its Bikaku tail, which can actually grow in size and length. And it spoke. It said that I was a worthy master because it senses my magic within me, and that I was a really powerful wizard or mage. But I prefer those kind of insults, to be honest. I just prefer to be called a magic user. That's when I learned about the soul bonding magic. I already knew about these, but not really know the how to actually tame a dragon using it. It's actually quite simple. All you really have to do is beat a dragon in battle or hatch a dragon. They will then see you as they am, either as a partner or as a parent. It's most likely the latter if you raise the dragon. But if you teach them how to be nice and be calm around them, even if they're aggressive, they will try to be nice and calm around humans. But this dragon was, for the record, these dragons can grow up to be around half a million years old. So yeah, and this dragon was around 1,000 years. So it was pretty much considered an adult, and I beat the thing, but not by knocking it out, just by simply pressing it. He then taught me how to use the soul bonding magic, which I actually somehow already knew. I immediately memorized the spell, casted it, and now his lifespan is pretty much immortal. I was gained. He said usually people would be in pain because they gain a super long lifespan, but you have already gotten a super long lifespan. He said, "How old are you?" I said, "I'm already a few hundred years old, dude. So get out of my way or go back to base." I knew that thing learned how to get back to my home through it. By through it, I meant that it learned how to get home through my mind because of the soul bonding. The next dragon, he said that I needed to soul bond with every single dragon surrounding it before I could gain access to the main place, because it needs their master and the 3 dragons to unlock it. Turns out it was a very powerful hybrid, but actually cast in there and locked up. Because, for the record, these things are actually locked in a stasis-like magic barrier. It said that their original master died casting that spell, and it appears that was my great-grandfather, which is how I was able to beat that dragon. It sensed my great-grandfather's blood within me, and it allowed me to soul bond with it a lot faster. So he then led me to the next dragon, which was the Avagon. The Avagon of this type had a very long neck, like a serpentine-like one. It also could breathe air. Its most primary attack was an air combustion attack with sand particles coming around it. He told me about that, and that I would have to fight him. So he pretty much just flew around to where he was going to be needed later on. For the record, I still metaphorically reeked of the magic I previously used, and my aura could be pretty much felt. This dragon's aura was actually quite a tad bit worse than mine, because it was still a pretty old dragon. Every dragon has around a 500,000-year-old lifespan, and each one was considered an adult. They get a big boost in power. felt that already tamed its brethren, but it leapt into the sky and declared, "Just because you tamed my brother, my sibling, you aren't gonna tame me." By brother, it meant that brother by tame. It somehow wasn't able to sense my great-grandfather's blood in me, but it leapt out its most powerful attack, followed by water coating its tail and a lightning bolt, and magma and metal, and also with fire and ice shards all shooting at me. I casted a barrier right in front of me, but that still blasted me out of the way because of the impact. I then leapt up and moved out of the way. It continuously blasts rocks, wind, combustion magic, any type of the main four elements you can think of. It launched them at me. A few times it actually launched a helium water ball at me, which was not really helping because I wasn't really taking any damage. I then figured out it was a test to see how worthy I was if I could take him out. It then casted one of its more powerful attacks, a lightning bolt, straight toward my face. I saw right through it and actually used a magic ability that I usually have a very hard time casting, Gluttonous. It allowed me to absorb the attack, analyze it, and shoot it right back at him, but 5 times its power output, which takes a lot out of me right now, still. But after casting the magic once, I immediately gained the ability to cast it at will, at full power, and it not hurting me back at all. But since it was my first time casting it, it injured my arm quite a bit. But first I then casted a smoke screen so the guy didn't see it coming. It hit him directly in the wing, shocked him quite a bit, and he fell face first. Since there was no water nearby, it couldn't heal. So I used one of my high regeneration spells and healed the thing. It then got up and said, "You passed." I said, I learned that spell on the fly. I'm lucky because I saw through and it was a test to see if I was worthy. He said, "You better be careful. The next one is even more powerful. The monster black dragon, I know. I know about these dragons. They're bloody powerful." He said, "How do you know?" I said, "My friend Spikos 1000, the Amos Lord King, has one. That thing's literally nearly roasted me on multiple occasions." The Avagon then said, "Okay." Somehow, during our conversation, I subconsciously casted the spell, the soul bonding spell, and turns out right after that conversation ended, he said, "We are now soul bonded." I said, "How?" He said, "Once you tame dragons that consider each other's brothers, you subconsciously cast a spell without even noticing it. So, yeah, it's a quite interesting ability." He then flew off, getting ready to open up the barrier. The last one was not actually a domestic black dragon. Turned out it was a hybrid of them all. It was an Omega Cocoon King. It was an Omega Cocoon Avatar King Dragon, better known as the Omega Cocoon Avatar King. This dragon, turns out, him and the domestic black dragon had switched places without the others noticing it. And turns out as well that I had originally already tamed it. it was a very powerful. It was not. It was the dragon I tamed when I was when I was actually just around the time I was born. He said, when I got there to it, it said, I said, I thought you were a domestic black dragon. It said, well, you already got one. And it turned out I was right. Now, when I say he was right, it was because a few days after I was born, and when I was born, I let off a magical pulse of energy. My parents later told me, for they're already dead, they told me that when you were born, you left magical pulse so powerful, everyone in a 5-mile radius gained some type of supernatural ability. Like some gained the ability to bend water. One guy learned how to climb walls and spin webbing from his hands. It was quite interesting. It showed that I was meant to be very powerful. But also I was a beacon for quite a few nastier creatures that were wanting me for evil things. One of those dragons was actually the very dragon that I was supposed to be fighting, the domestic black dragon. It leapt off from its perch and it found out that the other two had somehow had a child. And a very rare case, an Omega Kagoon Avatar King Dragon. The dragon then leapt onto the perch, assuming the pose of the new guardian, because it knew that somehow the domestic black dragon was actually going to be a very, very interesting one. So then it leapt into the air and flew off to where it was needed, right where I was. It then leapt down. My parents getting ready for a fight, thinking it was one of those monsters, because around them were corpses of some other creatures, like some Kagoon dragons and others, multiple. It said, I'm not here to harm you. I'm here to protect you. But I'm going to need your son. And he went on to explain that I was made for great things, and that magical energy led him here. He said that he was supposed to be soul bonded to me, and my parents having the ability to sense if any creature, is having evil intentions or anything like that. And also the ability to see what the truth is. They agreed because they believed him because they knew he was telling the truth. So he soul bonded with me. The dragon then bowed its head and said, you are a new leader and master. He said, you have passed all the tests. So, let us go and unlock the barrier. Then, as we soon led there, it turned out the other two had already known about the third test. Me, remembering my past and learning what happened, was the final test. They then released their orders, which, trust me, was quite overwhelming. And they each went over to a sigil and marking and put their paws and snouts into it. Turned their heads and turned their hands, turned their front paws counterclockwise. And they turned their heads clockwise. Not full 360, but to the left and then one to the right. Their paws went to the left and their snouts went to the right. They then unlocked it, and inside was an egg, locked in a cryo magical chamber. I sensed this overwhelming magic coming from it. It was pure, powerful magic. I walked over, trying to find the remains of my great-grandfather, because I sensed he was still there. Turned out, he was inside, and he was the magical barrier. The way I found that was by walking around, finding carvings saying, my great-grandson, if you're reading this, that means I am dead, and I was only able to seal up this powerful hybrid for you. And you are made for great things. You see, in a few hundred more years, you are going to, well, few thousand actually, you are going to have to fight something that is from another world and pure evil. Something so ferocious. It's unlike anything we've ever seen. It's more powerful than an overseer. It's pretty much in every seer. Every seers are very powerful creatures. They almost look human. They are pretty much human. But the All-Seer has chosen. But this every seer gained power from overthrowing over other every seers and killing them. It started off as an overseer, but was greed and too prideful in itself, gained power, more and more and more power with each passing day. It is now the root of all evil in this very multiverse. You will soon meet an overseer that will tell you everything you need to know in due time. And he said, and it continued and said, you will not find my remains here. You would only find them in the chamber behind you. Now speak aloud this incantation to dispel this barrier and claim the hybrid egg you deserve, and you are going to need for your journey to defeat the almost all-seer, the all-powerful over every seer, known as Lucio. Now, speak aloud this incantation. Husna, Hosna, Kisna, Fosna, Hosna, Kisna, Alisna. I then spoke aloud that incantation, and I felt the magical area leave the room and go into the dragons. A very small portion, giving them a boost in power. But the rest of the energy went into the egg. The egg then hatched open and leapt out a very odd-looking creature. It started to rapidly grow in size. Soon it let off an energy blast so powerful it shattered apart the area we were in. But due to my abilities, I memorized everything my grandfather had left for me. It then leapt up into the sky, thinking we were a threat. But after it calmed down, it realized we weren't, and flew down. It said, I am the only one of my kind. I am a domestic, black, cocoon king, avatar dragon, or that's the creature name. Our common name is domestic cocoon king Dravagon. I then said, well, might be the first one I've seen. But, oh man, what's going on? I then passed out. On the way home, then I woke up on the back of the dragon, that actually somehow was able to grow using the magical energy. It went on to explain, although it was only a few hundred years old, it was still very powerful. It was more powerful than every other dragon, besides the domestic black dragon. It has a 1 million year lifespan, and it was only around 500 years old. And myself at the time was 700 years old. So, yeah. So I then spent a few hundred years training and keeping these dragons under control. Making sure they don't go off and eat other people. For the time I was pretty advanced in technology. Using magic to actually learn how to make things a lot faster and simpler. I learned how to make the internet. Which, trust me, was a hassle in of itself. But soon enough, the people surrounding me had learned what I learned and started to catch up. So, for that time, for another 100 years or so, I locked away myself to make sure I don't impede the world's advancements anymore. So, yeah. Now, fast forward to 500 years after that, I am now, let me think, it's been a while since I cataloged my age, so I'm now around 5,000 years old. Technology is really advanced, and yeah, it's a really nice place, but there's still a lot of crime around here. But that's everything. That's how I met my dragons. So, see you next time when I'm going to be cataloging other dragons. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's video, because that's all the time I got for today. Until next time, subscribe to Adrian's Podcast on me, or to most Lance. Goodbye, and peace out, everyone.